Everybody, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. As always, I am one of your three humble hosts, Ted Glover. To my internet right is our other co-host, Drew, and below us in screen only is the one, the only purveyor, founder, and lead blogger of the Vikings SB Nation website, the Daily Norseman, dailynorseman.com, the one, the only, and the baldest of the three, Christopher Gates.
Yes, fortunately, mine is by choice as opposed to
Shut it! Shut it!
Oh man,
We're back. Holy shit!
That whistle.
Let's see if we remember how to do this. It's gonna be.
It's been a while. It's like riding a bike, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, I was gonna blow the whistle to welcome us back, but my parrot took the whistle.
Good.
And is killing the whistle right
Good.
as we speak.
The finest public service ever provided by a parrot.
If the whistle had carried the Vikings to a Super Bowl, I'd be mad at the parrot. I'd be wanting to have like parrot stew, but no, it's fine. It's good.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've seen everybody in all these beautiful people out in the chat.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some people out in the chat. Hopefully there's some people watching.
So, Drew, you better? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm
the boycott of the post-playoff live show.
I just, yeah. We're on to, was it on to Cincinnati? I just did the way the Vikings ended the season was just rancid. So I'm going to go with everybody else and say, yeah, we did better than we thought we would. But those last two games were, I have to ask you guys to defer to you. I don't know what I was watching. I don't know.
Look, one of the things you mentioned, and Chris, you can kind of chime in first, is that you wanted to talk about the future of Sam Darnold. And if nothing else, those last two terrible football games that ended the Vikings season, I think would sort of, because the debate was hot and heavy the last, 4 or 5 games of the year about what the Vikings are going to do at the quarterback position. Chris, I would just go ahead and say that it sort of settled the debate as to whether or not Sam Darnold's going to be back from Minnesota next year.
It really did. I mean, those last two games, we've seen the pictures posted online or whatever, some of those plays from the Rams game where there's literally 5 receivers running open in the pattern and the play resulted in a sack. As great as Sam Darnold was for most of this year and as good as seasons he had and whatnot, you can't bring that guy back next year. And it sounds like fun to try to put the franchise tag on him and trade him away, but then if you tag him and you don't get anybody to buy it out of trade, then this team is not going to get back on the mid-level quarterback treadmill like they did with Kirk Cousins for all those years. I mean, if you've watched the John Boy's Vikings documentary, and if you haven't, you owe it to yourself to watch it. I mean, they kind of made the point that the Vikings have never really had a true franchise quarterback because they've never really been bad enough to be in a position to get a quarterback over the years. And we've said it a bunch of times on this show, even when, we thought J.J. McCarthy might play this year, this team's been swinging for 2025 this whole time. I mean, they got all the bad contracts off the books. They're looking at a ton of cap space this year. They have their quarterback. And this is going to be, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell are going to swim or sink based on whether J.J. McCarthy is successful. And, you can't bring Sam Darnold back and see if that's going to be the case.
No, Drew, I would I agree with Chris. You don't push all this dead cap money. And when you come back, Chris, maybe you can answer. I don't know how much dead cap money the Vikings pushed in this year off the top of my head. It was a ton of it to clear up so much cap space for next year. The Vikings, I think, have like $70 million or right around.
It was somewhere around the 70 million mark. Over the cap doesn't have this year's numbers anymore. They've already pushed all their stuff over to 2025. But yeah, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 million.
Yeah, of dead cap money this year.
This past season.
Yeah. Yeah, to get Cousins and all those bad contracts off the books. I just to clear up cap money for next year for free agency and to build around their quarterback of the future and to bring back Darnold and pay him what people are speculating he will get in free agency, which is sort of blow all that up. They're not going to do it. I said it. I was on fortunate enough to be on Sal Spice's show, Scolders and Spice, a couple weeks ago, and I said it then. I mean, they're not going to do it. They're not going to blow up that entire philosophy. When they have what they feel is their quarterback of the future, J.J. McCarthy, they're going to build around him. They're going to use that money to get other pieces in place, hopefully on the interior offensive line, the defensive line, Drew, and go from there. That's what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, he's not coming back. It was a good run while it happened for him. Good for him too, because he's had kind of a downer career. So this was kind of a highlight for him, and he played well. All that. We all saw what happened, but I started thinking, when he started having problems at the end of the year, Ted and Chris, I was thinking maybe it's something to do. The O-line certainly wasn't playing at their best. Was the play calling at its best? And after that Rams game, which I missed that show. I wasn't on with you guys during that Rams game. I started thinking when I saw Darnold running off the field and KOC mouthed the words, "throw the ball." That's when I changed my mind. Is that it's not so much on the O-line and KOC. That guy won't throw it. If the head coach, and he said it plain as day as he walked up to him, throw it. What the fuck are you waiting for? So I think KOC, we talk about the short and intermediate pass games, Ted. I don't think he was able to do that. I think KOC's hands were a little tied because he can't do it. It's hard to structure plays in with a quarterback that can't do it. He certainly looked a lot different than he did at the end of the year than at the beginning. I think he was stressed out. I think he was pushing it, walking into sacks, running into sacks. He's a lot different of a quarterback, but I think KOC knows going forward he has to start the J.J. McCarthy thing. But all is not lost. If you look at the other side of the ball, our defense is going to be cooking next year because Flores is going to be back, and he has his guys in place right now. And Darnold's not coming back, and I don't know why anybody even makes – if you make the argument for Sam Darnold returning to Minnesota, the only thing you hate J.J. McCarthy. That's the only thing you can really place your bet on is that.
Yeah.
Guys don't like –
And I hated J.J. McCarthy in college, and I love him as well. If Ted Glover, can get over J.J. McCarthy hate, anybody can.
One of my notes I had written for today I wanted to ask you guys and people on the chat is we all knew that 2025 was going to be the year. We were kind of going into 2024, Ted, going, well, what can we get out of this year?
Yeah.
Record started improving, and all of us on the show and many Vikings fans thought maybe we can make a magical run. Maybe this is it. We had a plan. We went with it, knowing 2025 was coming out, but we made that plan with J.J. McCarthy being healthy this year, whether he was going to play, come in at week 8, week 10, or whatever. Remember, we talked about that back in April and May about is my question to you guys is McCarthy's injury set us back, so now we're looking at 2026, or is he going to make up time? Because there's nothing like reps. You got to get reps. Sitting on a couch rehabbing is one thing, but is he going to be behind in terms of repetitions and snaps where we're going to push this thing another year?
Go ahead, Chris.
No, absolutely not. I don't think it does. I mean, by all accounts, once he finally got recovered from the meniscus surgery, he was in the quarterback room every week. He was traveling on road trips with the Vikings. He was on the headsets during the games. Apparently, he's doing the same sort of VR training that Jaden Daniels has been doing that seems to have helped him quite a bit. And so he's getting his reps that way. And, by all accounts, physically, he's going to be ready to go. So, yeah, it's time. I don't think this sets him back. I think he's going to be ready week 1 next year, and we're going to be rolling offensively.
Good.
I agree with Chris, 100%. JJ's going to be the guy.
I have to say it again. McCarthy is the sharp end of the spear.
Yeah.
Just like Ziva David. He is the sharp end of the spear.
I mean, if he would have gotten injured like midway through the season or something, or later on in the season, then maybe you could. But he got injured in the preseason. He's had plenty of time. He's going to be fine.
I mean, just having JJ back, that gets us hyped up for the season right now. We haven't talked about free agency or, the draft. Wait, we're supposed to talk about the draft before free agency, right? That's how it's normally done.
I gave you guys an assignment to have your 7th-round mock draft ready to go. So I hope you have that.
Well, I mean, shit, we only got 3 picks. How hard is it? That's what she said. Yeah.
With your comp picks for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds already in there.
Oh, wow, that gives us 4. Sweet.
Hey, before we go on, I want to say at the end of the show tonight, we're going to spin the prize wheel. We're giving away squares to my squares board that some people know about, some people don't. I'm running a Super Bowl squares board, $5 a square. There's 13 squares left. We're going to give a couple away at the end of the show. Right now, I saw his name down there. I'm going to give a couple out right now to Anthony Tollison for all that he's done for this show, whether it's monetary, he sent us a bunch of T-shirts we could sell in the prize vault. He sent us other prize vault stuff, and he's Caligula. Man, the guy makes me laugh so much about just because he doesn't care. He's pretty unfiltered. So
Caligula was a despot, and he was a pervert as well. I'm just throwing that out there.
Is that accurate, Anthony? Maybe you can answer. But I am going to personally give 2 squares of my game to Anthony tonight. Anthony, private message me there's only like 10 or something left. So send me the numbers that you want. I'll put your name in there. And I wanted to pay you back the guy's done a lot for this show financially and privately. So
I wasn't sure if Ted was going pro Caligula or anti Caligula there for a second. It's hard to tell. But
I mean, honestly, does anybody comment like Anthony? I mean, that guy is on his own world. So.
Chuck Litwin just said Caligula went to Ohio State. Ruby kicked Chuck off the show. And Yeah,
but if it helps, Vlad the Impaler went to Michigan.
So, that's true. Vlad the Impaler went to Michigan, so there we go.
It's all good.
I saw a couple people asking about free agency. Before we get to free agency overall, I was looking at the Vikings unrestricted free agency list.
Yeah.
And of all the dudes that are out there, I would think Drew, Chris, the only guy that really kind of sticks out maybe for me that I think is maybe a must-have, and I don't even know if he's a must-have, but Byron Murphy is probably the top guy for me that I think the Vikings should bring back. I don't know about you, Chris, Drew. Is there a guy you think the Vikings absolutely positively must bring back?
Him. That's my choice. That's what I got written on my paper. The one free agent you got to bring back is him.
Yeah, I got to agree with Murphy because if you look at the secondary, we've talked about Harrison Smith. If that guy wants to come back as a coach, great, awesome. I don't know if you bring him back as a player at this point anymore. And as much as I love Harrison Smith, as much as we all love Harrison Smith, I just don't think dude has it anymore, and it pains me to say that. But you look at the rest of the secondary. I mean, Shaq Griffin's a free agent, Cameron Bynum's a free agent, Stephon Gilmore is also talking about retiring. He's going to be a free agent anyway. It's basically Josh Metellus who's signed in the secondary at this point, and nobody else. So, yeah, Byron Murphy coming back would be significant.
What do you guys feel about Bynum? How do you feel about that guy?
I run hot and cold on the guy. I mean, I think 1 week he has the potential to be just a superstar in this league, and the next week, like 2 years ago, he had a great season, consistently great almost every week.
Yep.
This past season, he was kind of hot and cold. Had great turnover celebration game.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool.
And tackling issues.
I don't.
Yeah, never mind the tackling. As long as the dancing's good, we don't care about that tackling.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hot and cold on the guy. I think he would be a positive addition to the secondary, but I think sometimes his play is fairly inconsistent. That's just me though. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
No, I don't think you are. But if Harrison Smith retires and you cut Bynum, what are you doing? Where you have to have some guys back there. Who are you putting back there? Is that you go find somebody in free agency or what?
Here's the deal. If Lewis Seen wins the Super Bowl with the Eagles this Sunday, you can bring him back and he's got Super Bowl experience. And you can maybe bring him back and I don't know.
I mean, if Harrison Smith calls it quits, and like Chris said, I don't know if you want him back there anyway. I think Flores is probably going to pound the table for Bynum just so you can have some familiarity back there, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, I would have to agree.
Well, you got Josh Metellus back there too, and Metellus is I think a stabilizing factor on that defense to begin with, and I think Flores knows.
Flores likes to rover that guy though, move
I
around.
was gonna, if you keep Metellus confined to the safety spot, I mean, he loses a lot of his value. I mean, he's got to be able to be that guy that moves all over the place and whatnot. So, yeah, you're gonna need one, maybe two safeties at this point if you want to keep Metellus in that kind of role. So,
which is a free agent position I haven't looked at yet. I don't know any of the free agent safeties. I haven't got into that yet because I'm doing the offense right now, looking at guys from the offense. But is there anybody you see on the roster that could go in there? Who is it? Theo Jackson or something?
Yeah, Theo Jackson's not bad. I mean, I don't know if he's starter material. I mean, he's a good rotational guy, but yeah, I mean, he's as good an answer as anybody else that's currently on the roster at this point.
So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions for this Vikings defense, but I will say I think there are less questions heading into 2025 for the Vikings defense than there were in 2024. And we thought the Vikings defense was going to be kind of crappy, and they ended up being pretty good.
Ted, is most of the uncertainty and the questions wrapped up in the secondary? You're okay with the front seven? And for me, it's just the secondary. I like the front seven. I feel like they're really strong there, and they're going to get the secondary. I'm kind of going, we don't have any corners right now. I mean, it's like.
You're right. I agree. And that was, but the secondary got kind of solved in free agency with Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, and you got to remember, Mekhi Blackman's going to be back too. And
that's true.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL like the first practice.
Yeah. First practice of the year.
Training camp, for God's sakes.
That guy's going to be a great corner too.
I think he's going to be pretty good. So that's a guy coming back. I'm sure the Vikings are going to address that in free agency as well. So no, I'm when it's all said and done. I mean, yeah, right now looking at it today, the secondary is probably the biggest question mark. But when you got $73 million in cap space, you could solve that in like 2 days.
Right. Bynum's probably in a good position because he knows if Smith is gone, he's got a little bit of leverage to stay. So I don't know what he's going to. What did he make last year? He's under contract, isn't he?
Who's that?
Cam Bynum? I mean,
no, he's a free agent.
He's a free agent. What did he make? What would he demand on the open market? What's Cam Bynum getting? Something we can't pay? I mean,
no, they can afford him. I mean,
I'm sure they can probably afford him.
Do they want to pay what his market value is going to be based on what his production was? And I think that's the question the Vikings are asking, because I just think he was kind of an inconsistent guy. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree with how you evaluated it earlier. I mean, he has runs there where he gets like an interception every week for a month.
Yeah.
And then he has a game when Jamar Gibbs is running past him as he's standing still, and you're going, what in the hell is going on?
Well, and then somebody asked earlier, if you had to choose, would it be Murphy or would it be Bynum? And I'd pick Murphy in a heartbeat. I'd pick Byron Murphy in a heartbeat.
I would too.
All right. So overall free agents, though, NFL free agency kicks off
12th
of March.
12th of March, yeah.
Is there one guy out there that you think the Vikings just need to throw 70 of their $73 million at?
I know everybody wants Trey Smith. I listened to the 2 Old Blogger show. I know Dave's in the chat tonight. If you haven't seen this show yet, it's on Saturdays, one more week, and then they're switching to Sundays. 2 Old Bloggers on the First and Skull Network. Dave Stefano, Darren Campbell. They'll give you the straight. Don't you need to watch all that other pod you're watching? Watch this one, watch that one, and watch Rhino's Viking Uncensored. But Dave talked a lot about. He kind of broke down the offensive line really well in talking about Trey Smith and do you want to spend $22 million a year? And I'm kind of I kind of want to get somebody in the $14-15 million range that can still plug that hole up there and then draft somebody to try to develop them or develop a guy that you have maybe somewhere deep on the roster or whatever. I don't know. And then people come back at that saying, well, there you go again, Drew, just kicking the can down the road, getting mediocre guys. There's a lot of good guards in free agency, and there's certainly a fat amount on the draft table this year. There's a lot of guards, a lot of interior linemen that'll be in the draft. Well, we have limited picks, but I would say you got to get a guard, and I like that defensive tackle out of Philly. I think he's a really good player. But those would be the two positions. The guard is, if you're asking me who number one you throw the money at, it's the guard position. And if they want to get Trey Smith, I'm not going to bitch about it. But that's a hefty package right there, hefty deal of money.
That's what she said.
I would like to maybe see if I could spend $10 million less or $8 million less and get. There's a good list of guys out there. But I think the whole interior of the O-line has to be fixed. I think you should get two guards in free agency. I don't know.
Is there anybody on the roster, Drew? There was a kid the Vikings drafted. He spent most of the year on the practice squad. Offensive lineman. Thought he was about a year away.
Walter Rouse.
There you go, Walter Rouse. Do you think he's a kid that might be a candidate for a starting gig next year, or do you think the Vikings are to the point where they have got to go get help right now?
He's a tackle, isn't he?
That's what he was drafted as.
Are they making him a guard? Have they turned that corner yet?
I don't know. I'm just.
I don't think they've made that decision.
I think his next step is going to be like a Questenberry role for Rouse. You got to get him in there to spot people when they get injured or need a breather or whatever. That's going to be his next spot. I don't think he's ready to start yet, but if they're going to switch him to guard, there's another possibility of a guy that could get the job done. But then, is it Ingram all over again? I don't know, Ted. I don't know. I don't think they have a guy that can start. I don't even think the guys that are starting are starters in the interior of the offensive line. Bradbury spent more time on his back than Chuck Wepner in the 70s fighting Ali. And I don't know if the left guards figure it out. You guys tell me, who's on the roster that we could bring up from the practice squad or something that could be a starting guard on this team?
I mean, you want to give Michael Jurgens a chance?
No.
I don't know.
Not unless he's developing a new soap. But
they're going to go get a guard, Ted. They're going to go get a guard first day of free agency. I know it.
I think the best guy out there is Kevin Zeitler. I know he's 34. I know he's not the guy that fits the profile of the type of guy Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah gets, but he is the best guard on the market, in my opinion.
And he's not going to cost you $22 million.
And he's like a 1-year deal. He's like a stopgap dude. You draft a guy, and look, I don't care if you need to draft or sign 1-year contracts for guys in free agency in the interior offensive line for the next 5 years, because interior offensive line is not quarterback where you need a stable guy at quarterback for 7 or 8 years. Get me dudes that can play solidly every year, and if they're 5 different guys or 6, two guards in the center for 5 different each year for 5 years, I don't care if they're 3 different guys for 5 years in a row and they're all good. I don't care. Also, I don't care at this point.
Get guards. Don't take tackles. Just go get the guard.
Yes,
because play freaking guard. I mean,
because the converted tackle to guard has worked so well for the Minnesota Vikings for the last 12 years.
Chris, let me ask you: Are they really gonna change all 3 interior offensive linemen? We know the tackles. No sense in talking about it. They'll have depth there. They'll have the starters back. Darrisaw will be back. I'm not worried about those guys. Are they going to go into the season with all 3 interior guys changing out, or they have plans to keep like 1 and change the other 2 out? Or what do you think they're thinking? What are the Vikings thinking when they're sitting around that table having a gin and tonic, talking interior offensive line? What, 3 new guys to start the season with a rookie quarterback? I mean, really?
I mean, if you're going to keep one of the 3 of them, which one do you keep? I mean,
it has to be Bradbury. As much as I can't stand the guy,
it would probably have to be Bradbury because I mean, Brandel is not. He was good when Darrisaw was in there, and then Christian Darrisaw went out and he kind of fell apart. And Ingram's not it, and Dalton Reisner's not it, and I mean, at least Bradbury has shown flashes of competence from time to time, but you don't want competence anymore. You want something above that level.
I think if you can get two good guards,
okay,
they can help mask, for the lack of a better word, or complement, or I guess mask is probably the better word, Bradbury's weaknesses. And when you have a guy like McCarthy who has mobility even better than Sam Darnold had, that will neutralize whatever weakness Bradbury has if you have an interior push on a pass. So if you're going to say, if you got to keep one of those three guys, I would probably agree with Bradbury.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the way you'd go to.
You have got to get better at the guard position.
Well, here's
you just have to.
You're not gonna. You got 4 draft picks. You're not going to draft a center that's going to start day one. You're not. There's no John Michael Schmitz or Ray, Mike Webster, Dwight Stevenson. I don't see any of those guys in the draft. It's going to be a guy you have to develop. Draft one, but is he going to be ready week one? I doubt it. Ask Dave. Centers starting in this league, it's pretty rare.
They're going to have more than 4 draft picks. I know they're picking what at 26
24
right now. 24. They're going to trade down. I don't think there's going to be any game-changing or franchise-changing player for the Vikings unless somebody drops. That the Vikings will absolutely say we have got to stay here and get this guy. Or there's going to be a guy that drops into the 18-19 range that they're going to have to say we got to go up and get. I think the Vikings are going to drop down and accrue picks because they kind of have to.
I think so too.
Yeah,
what about
absolutely.
this idea for the offensive line? Since we have so much money to spend real quick, you go get somebody like Zeitler. Ted, I'm in agreement with that pick all the way, Ted. I think he's older, but he's probably the best guy that you'd want to take from there, except Trey Smith. Get Zeitler. Go get.
Why not get them both?
Get Ryan Kelly to play center.
Okay.
Now there's a guy I think besides Dahlman, he's the only other center that I would like to have on this team. And I've liked him since he played for Alabama. They did a draft write-up on him. I think he's a great player. Go get Ryan Kelly and get your stud guard, and then figure out what's going on at left guard and fix it with the 12 guys you got. Somebody's got to be able to play left guard. But what if you spend a bunch of free agent money on 2 starters, experienced guys, Zeitler and Kelly, and then went that route? Is that a possibility, or is that you don't want to spend that much on free agency on the interior offensive line?
I would. I'd spend
absolutely
a lot of my free agency. I think that's why they freed up all that money, is so they can shore up like they did last year on the defense. I think they're going to do that on the offense this year. I mean, look how quickly they fixed the front 7 last year with Van Ginkel, Cashman, and Grenard.
They're all proven, Ted. They played before.
Yes.
Instead of getting rookies and hope they work out. That look at the draft Quasi has. Don't get free agency, dude. Stay the hell away from the draft. You ain't got it there.
No, he's got to start drafting better. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I know you're kidding, but he's got to start drafting better. But you can fix a long-term problem with free agency this year, and they did a great job with linebackers and switching to a 3-4 last year by going out and getting Van Gink and Cashman and Grenard and that unit did a complete 180 from the year before. So I fully believe, and they had a lot more limited resources last year than they're going to have this year in free agency. So yeah, I firmly believe they can probably even overpay a little bit, get the same type of deals they got, for the guys they got last year, this year, and have a really good free agency class, except this year it's going to be on the offensive line instead of front 7 like they got last year.
I mean, I don't know how much money would be left after you paid Kelly and you paid like Trey Smith or something, but we would have a totally different kind of offensive line up there, out there every week, not getting run over like they were in those last few weeks. It was terrible to watch. So
yeah,
I'd rather, if I had my choice, I'd rather get the defensive tackle that we need from the draft. If I had to go that route, there's going to be a lot of guys available, but I think we should trade back too also, Ted.
So, but yeah, we'll see. All right. What else do you want to talk about?
It's got to be fixed, though. That offensive line, it's got to be fixed. Here, KOC talking at the press conference. Well, we need to fix it. We had to fix it the day you got here, and you haven't done shit about it. Don't tell me about it. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I want it done.
I will say go ahead, Chris.
The interior offensive line's been a mess since Steve Hutchinson left town. I mean, it has been. I mean, ever since Hutchinson left town, I mean, who have we've rotated a bunch of dudes out at guard and center and all these other positions, and none of them have been anything, resembling a long-term fix. I mean, they're not Hutchinson, but I mean, they're not even Anthony Herrera and David Dixon or that level of guy. I mean, they're just dudes that are there, kind of.
Anthony Herrera would be our third best offensive lineman right now.
Hell yeah, he would be.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, to defend Kwesi and KOC a bit, when they got here, they had really no roster depth. They had no cap space, really to do much anything. And the first couple drafts Kwesi had were complete bombs. And they didn't really focus on the offensive line anyways. And the drafts leading up to that, other than Christian Darrisaw, the offensive lineman the Vikings had drafted were pretty much enormous busts. So this is really kind of the first opportunity in terms of this regime to really address the problem. So we'll see how he does. I mean, I'll give him a chance this year to see how he does, but it's gotta be solved. This is a problem that has got to be solved. Has got to be solved.
I think so too. Well, everybody knows that. I mean, it's like that's the one area of the team everybody's been waiting to see get fixed. So
yeah. Yep.
What do people want to talk about now? What do you want to talk about next, Ted Glover? You national champion, you?
Nobody wants to hear about that.
Still bothers you though. I know it does.
No, it doesn't. Not anymore.
It does.
It doesn't. I'm telling you, it doesn't.
Oh, 13-10.
Don't care.
Oh, it bothers you. Okay.
No, you think it does, but it doesn't.
You think
you want it to. You want it to, but it doesn't.
But you don't know, and you never will.
So a couple big time NFL players want to be traded. Cooper Kupp and Myles Garrett. Bob from Bloomington, long time, first time. Thanks for taking my call. I think the Minnesota Vikings ought to trade their entire draft class for Myles Garrett. Thanks, I'll hang up and listen. I don't think Myles Garrett is realistic to come to the Minnesota Vikings. I do think, however, Cooper Kupp is a guy with, he was in LA when Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl there. I'm not saying a deal's going to get done. I don't know the specifics. Chris, you were talking about Cooper Kupp's contract.
He's got a cap hit of like $30 million this year. Nobody's trading for that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not without a significant restructure. No.
Yeah, they're going to have to restructure, or he's going to have to be cut. However, if the Rams do cut him, I think Minnesota could be a viable destination for him. I mean, Kupp's, I think he's north of 30 now. His production has dropped a little bit.
Injury prone a little bit.
Yeah, he's had injuries the last few years now. I think he might be a guy that
31.
might look at. He might be a guy that would look at Minnesota as a pretty decent destination. I don't know. I'm not even saying it's remotely possible, but I'm just saying.
You know what, Ted? When that guy's in a groove, he's sneaky good. That Kupp.
Yeah.
He is I would have no problem. You get him for nothing, song and a dance. Is that how they say it? Get him for a song and a dance.
Yeah.
He would fit in well here. I mean, Naylor's faster and younger and all that, but Cooper Kupp, man, he's the guy during the game where he catches like a 30-yard pass and he's by himself and you're going, how the hell did he get open? I mean, he's a very smart player, and I think he would fit here. We didn't have to spend a lot of money, and can he stay healthy? That's the question.
I mean, can you imagine? I just imagine you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Cooper Kupp, TJ Hawkinson. Those are your top four receivers.
And Kupp wouldn't bitch about getting the ball.
I don't think he would either. He's not that kind of guy. No. I think it's a pipe dream. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying if he does become a free agent, I would think the Minnesota Vikings would definitely be a team he would look at very seriously, just because of his past connection to Kevin
I wouldn't
Connell.
have a problem with him. Chris, what do you think?
No, I think it'd be a solid. I mean, if he's happy being wide receiver 3, because that's what he's going to be in Minnesota. He's not going to be 1 or 2, obviously, but yeah, like Ted said, he seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't complain about not getting 20 targets a game or whatever and that sort of thing. So no, I there would be worse options at wide receiver 3, I reckon. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
I just like the way he plays the game. Very smart player, very team-oriented player. I just, you look at other guys on other teams. It's not our favorite team, but I've always been kind of a fan of Cup. I always thought he's a gamer, dude. Very physical player when he needs to be. He'll knock somebody on their ass. He seems like a guy you'd want on your team that would be a good team player.
And knows how to get open. And knows how to get open when he has to get open. Yep.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, the guy had 400 catches? I mean, that guy was all over the place. He was crazy.
He won the receiving Triple Crown that year. They went to the Super Bowl, I think. Yeah, he led the league in receptions and yards and touchdown catches.
God, you can get a real steal there, Ted. Imagine that wide receiver core. That'd be pretty.
That'd be pretty sweet.
JJ McCarthy, how do you feel about that?
I think he'd be pretty irritated with it, to be quite honest. But that's just me.
He wants Nico Collins back that he had at Michigan. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I know.
No, that's not happening.
All righty.
What about that other cat you mentioned? We don't want
Myles Garrett. Yeah, I don't.
That guy who dinged that quarterback with his helmet. Dinged him with the helmet.
Yeah. I believe he was.
That was him.
Okay.
I don't.
He's a hell of a defensive end.
He is. He's a 4-3 defensive end, though, isn't he?
I believe so.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know if he'd move into that outside linebacker position, but
he's going to want a shitload of money too, right?
Yeah, there's that.
I don't see the Vikings going after Myles Garrett. Do you?
Todd Gums. We need to save that message. We need to talk about running back.
Yeah, we do.
I did not want to get through this show and not talk about what we're going to do at running back. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion.
All righty.
Before we start, though, take that Archie Griffin running back thing. I don't want to see it when I'm talking.
I will not. No, I will not. 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. Only
deserved one, though.
Only one.
Shouldn't have won it when he was a
junior. Whatever. So yeah, Myles Garrett. I think that's a big time pass.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not happening.
All right. So running back. Who brought up the running back comment?
Gums. Last name is Gums.
Todd Gums. Todd Bubble Gums. All right.
So let's get Todd wants to chew on this one for a while.
Let's blow a couple bubbles about our running back. Todd.
Good 4. Good on the screen pass. Good 3.
So Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, top 2 running backs last year. Chris, do you want 1, 2, or none back?
Well, I believe per NFL rules, we have to let Cam Akers go so that we can trade a 7th-round pick for him sometime around week 6 again this year. It's kind of getting to be a tradition for the Vikings at this, but they traded the same damn pick for the same guy 2 years in a row somehow.
That's beautiful.
But,
that is beautifully done.
No, I mean, I don't know if I'd want either of them. I mean, Jones is getting to be on the wrong side of 30, and he had some injury issues. I mean, I don't think he missed. I can't remember if he missed any games or not. He might have missed 1 or 2, but he was dinged up for most of the year and whatnot. So he's starting to show a little wear. And Akers is a decent 2nd or 3rd running back. I don't know if he's the guy you build your running game around necessarily. So yeah, this is something they're going to have to address, whether it's in the draft or free agency. And if they do it in the draft, you can get serviceable running backs in the 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever round. I mean, you don't have to draft a running back super high to get one that can function in your offense right away. So yeah, it's definitely something that's got to be addressed. But if I had to make the choice, I don't think I'd bring either of those guys back.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, I thought was a tremendous upgrade over Alexander Madison. Obviously, he ran for over 1,000 yards.
Yep.
But towards the end of the season, we talked about it ad nauseum. I think I think I beat the Vikings running game to death more than Drew beat Kevin O'Connell's play calling to death.
Yeah, probably not.
Todd.
Well, yeah. When it just seemed like after the first 2 or 3 drives of the game, the Vikings running game just died.
What happened with that? Why is it like that, Ted?
It was just ineffective, and it didn't matter who was in. I mean, Aaron Jones, I think, seemed to run very well the first quarter and a half, and then or whoever was in it, whether it was Akers spelling him, or whoever, but then it was just bad for the rest of the game.
I don't understand that strategy. Like the first Rams game, the first one, those first 2 drives, Jones is running crazy, and then KOC quit going to the run. I don't.
No, I don't think he did. It was just bad. They weren't getting anything out of it. They were getting 6-7 yards a chunk, and then they were getting 0, -2, -4. I think they're probably. Are they going to bring one of those guys back? No, I don't think so. Should they? Maybe. I don't think you can go into the season with a whole new running back core unless you consider Ty Chandler the veteran, and I don't know that you want to do that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think you can go into the season with Aaron Jones as your top guy because he's north of 30 now too, and that's just kind of the line of demarcation where running backs just sort of start falling off a cliff. So I don't know.
Yeah, the thing that you just mentioned about him running out of gas a little bit early. This is an important position because J.J. McCarthy's going to need a running game, a consistent running game to help him. He's always had that, whether it's IMG Academy or Michigan with Corum. He's always had that to lean on. This is the draft to go get a running back in, guys. There's probably 15 or 20 that are between rounds 1 and 3 that you could get somewhere. I mean, even if you're getting a guy later in the 5th round, he's got 3rd round talent. A lot of running backs to choose from in this draft. I would certainly be trying to work some kind of deal if you trade back to still get one of those guys. I love the Caleb Johnson guy out of Iowa, but I would look, this is the year to get your running back. So I'm saying no to Aaron Jones. I would keep Chandler. I'd say no to Akers. And then try to get something in free agency that is an upgrade from Aaron Jones. And I don't like, it's not a lot of studs in that free agent running back market, but you look at a guy like Najee Harris, guy like A.J. Dillon.
Najee Harris. God,
well,
Najee Harris.
Yeah, but before you look at Najee Harris, look at Pittsburgh quarterback and passing game. Look at their passing attack the last 2 years. It's shit. It is absolute shit. There's not a coordinator in the league that's worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers passing game. So all they do is cue on Harris.
Najee Harris is like a picture of food that you see on a restaurant. It looks great, but it like sucks when you get into the restaurant. It's like a picture of a quarter pounder on TV.
Okay, if you can't find a quarter pounder free agent, you keep Aaron Jones, I guess, for $7 million. Let him, but you got to. Point is, Ted, I don't know if you like anybody in the free agent line. It's not a lot of studs.
Let's see. Let's see.
You can get, if you can't get anything better than Aaron Jones, I guess you figure out with Aaron Jones, and then every second quarter he has a 600-pound bag of ice tied to his leg. If that's what you want, that's what you get. If you can't find anybody better, my saying is you have to find some experience. But you also have to draft your next guy in this draft.
Yeah, you do.
Because it's so loaded at running back. If you wait a year, you're going to be back to having 3 good running backs, and the rest are all Sylvester Stabboner that aren't worth a shit. So this is the year to go grab a guy. And Dallas has taken that Boise State kid. I don't want to hear about that guy's name anymore because Dallas is already making jerseys with his name on it. That's their draft pick.
Oh, that Junty kid?
Yeah.
Yep.
My idea is maybe if they could trade back from 24 to about 34 or 36 with the Jags or the Raiders, trade back in that mid-30 area, you still get a really, really good running back. But I think this is a year to draft them. I don't care if you bring Jones back or Javonte Williams is a free agent. Bring somebody in there that's got some experience because you can't start a rookie back there year 1, I don't think.
Hang on. There's a kid. He's only going to be 27. Market value is only about $2 million. Last name Madison, coming out of Vegas. Keep an eye on this kid. Keep an eye on this kid.
Chris, stop him.
I'm going to throw something crazy out there. I know we talked about the about 30 being kind of the line of demarcation for running backs, but 30-year-old Nick Chubb is going to be a free agent. That when that dude's healthy,
Did he
when
have
that dude's healthy,
he looked
he
broken last year.
And a hip replacement?
He looked broken last year. I thought about Chubb. I went back and forth when I made my free agent list. I had him on the list. I took him off. I had him on the list. I took him off, but he wasn't a quarter pounder. And I just didn't. If you watch his tape from last year, he looked broken, Chris. I think it's too risky. But you're right. When he's on, dude, he is a dominant running back. But is he broken?
I don't know. I mean, you could probably get him later on in free agency and see if he's healed up all the way. I mean, you don't have to give that.
Good year for the Chargers last year.
He did.
Dobbins is a free agent. Well, there we go. Yeah. Now we're running into some names. If Chubb returns to any kind of form that he had before, that's a step up from Aaron Jones. Dobbins, that's probably a step up from Aaron Jones right now.
And he's had an injury history, but he stayed healthy for almost the entire season last year. He had a good year last year.
What's his current market value? It's got to be. It's not $7 million a year, is it?
They're saying. Well, let's see. Market value they're calling for Dobbins is 4.1 million.
4.1 million. That's half of what Aaron Jones was making. Why wouldn't you make that move?
So,
get Dobbins.
One more guy to potentially look at. He's kind of buried where he is right now. But you look at Philadelphia. You look at Kenneth Gainwell.
I had him on
that dude. List. That dude's buried behind Saquon Barkley so far. He's never going to get more than 5 or 6 carries a game. But he's a dude that, whenever you watch the Eagles, when they get him the ball, he does something positive with it, like almost every time. That'd be a guy to look at.
Yep. He was buried behind somebody else before Barkley, so he's never really got a shot at being the number one. But go look at his tape from Memphis. Crazy good. I would Gainwell. There's a guy right there. You're not paying him more than $2 or $3 million a year. That'd be like max for that guy. There's probably somebody out there. You know what? Get that Todd Gumps back in here. You started this. I want your take.
Yeah.
Where's the Gummer? Where's Gummy Bear?
Todd. Where are you? Who do you want?
You can't just start it and then leave. You got to give your 2 cents. I want to hear from Todd. So formulate your answer. And Gainwell. That's a great answer.
There's a couple of good. AJ Dillon is not bad. I mean, another former Packer, which would bother.
He's a cruncher. He's a cruncher, isn't he?
But he's a guy. There's a guy that, as John Gruden would say, down on the goal line, the Vikings had issues down on the goal line. You fix your interior O-line and you get a bruiser that could get that 1 or 2 yards. That could be a difference maker.
I remember on 2 old bloggers this week, Darren Campbell had mentioned Javonte Williams. There's an interesting cat.
Yeah.
Remember we did a big draft write-up on him a few years ago, Ted? Mm-hmm. North Carolina. It was him, and they had a 2-headed thing going on there in North Carolina, but very impressive running back. I don't know with the knee injury he had, it was a pretty bad one. ACL, LCL, FBI, CIA, he had all the letters in that knee. But last year he's kind of bounced back a little bit from it. But if he returns to, like Chubb, if you can get what 75% of what he used to be, that's a step up from Aaron Jones.
Yeah. But I think it all starts with the interior offensive line. I think a lot of the problems he's had with the running game into the second, third, and fourth quarter was because the interior offensive line, after the first couple drives, got figured out and they couldn't block to save their ass. But that's just me.
You look at the current market value of some of these free agent running backs, you kind of think, how did Aaron Jones get $7 million a year? He's not better than he's a lot better than all those guys. I mean, he's good. Maybe just bring him back, Ted. I don't know the answer. I don't know.
We'll figure. Well,
McCarthy needs a running back, not a guy that's going to sit on the sideline with a hamstring problem. He needs somebody to play.
It's very true.
Draft a guy.
All right. Any other things you want to talk about before we spin the wheel for your Super Bowl blocks?
Super Bowl squares. Who's going to get a Super Bowl square? Was there anything pressing? KOC got a new deal. I don't know if Mensa's got one yet.
Not yet.
No, he hasn't.
They're working on it.
He'll get one before all the draft starts.
All right, here's what Todd Gums says about the running back. He says,
"Let's hear it, Gums.
Shit can all 3 current running backs use our second draft pick on a running back, but our first on a guard. If you build the interior O-line, everything else falls into place. Find another bigger, younger running back in free agency."
I think we're onto something with this Gums guy.
Yeah.
Gums, turn in your resume to Mensa. Eagan, Minnesota.
Gums, I agree with you. That's that shit can them all. Let's start over. But Ted, you're right. If you fix the O-line, anybody's going to be better. You fix the interior O-line. Well, except Madison. We're not bringing him back.
No, absolutely we are not.
But from Todd, that's a good comment. I don't know that I draft a guard. I think they're going to solve their interior O-line issues in free agency. I think that's where a big chunk of their free agency money is going to go. Maybe they'll get it. I think if they trade down and get picks, they'll look at interior O-line in the draft, but we'll see.
I think they're going to get a value pick in the 5th of either a guard or a center in plans of developing them, not to start this year, but somebody that's a real value because there's an interior O-line like running back. This is a draft to grab somebody, Ted. It is.
Yeah.
Good answer, Gums.
All right. Ruby, are you there?
We're spinning the wheel for Super Bowl squares. We're going to spin it twice. Each person gets a square on my board. $125 payout for the first quarter, the second quarter, $125, third quarter, $125, end of game, $125.
Woo!
So those are the payouts for each quarter. And I have 10 squares left on my board. They're going to be sold out tomorrow. So we thought, Toons has actually had this idea. Why don't we give away a couple squares tonight to make this more interesting? Look at that wheel.
All right.
That is
$125 value.
$125 a quarter. Still chances for Ted to get a couple squares, but.
And then Todd also said he never ruled out a guard in free agency. We can do both. He's right. He's absolutely right. We can do both.
We're done, Gums. Don't overstep your stay. You're doing good right now.
Don't get cocky, kid.
Where's Todd Gums been? He hasn't been on the show ever. Good work tonight from everybody.
Yeah.
Let's spin this wheel, and who gets a square? And whoever gets it has to get a hold of me or Ruby to pick the number on the board.
Oh,
Davey!
Dave,
you know how to get a hold of Drew and Ruby. Good job.
Yes, he does. He gets a square. Dave, you get a square. That's really well done. Dave Stefano, who runs First and Skull Network and is the host of Two Old Bloggers. Don't miss it. Saturday afternoon.
And when they say old, they mean old.
Two Old Floggers.
Mark Stein.
Mark Stein. He just edged out Caligula there. Did you see that?
Mark, get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com. Vikings Report, Drew and Ted at gmail.com. They'll send you the graph with numbers for the squares. Just pick a number. They'll put your name on it. Be eligible to win $125, which is pretty good.
Well, you could win every quarter.
Well, yeah, you could win every quarter.
That's $500.
Yeah, we've got one going on at the office. It was the year the Patriots played. I think it was the Eagles. I don't know, but 1 year. No, it was before that. Anyways,
they played everybody. They played every team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. I had like two quarters. Oh, it was one of the Giants Super Bowl. I was one play away from winning 3 of the 4 quarters. But whatever.
Dang.
Really?
Haven't won anything since then. So.
Wow, that's interesting.
Like most of Michigan football for the 20th century. But anyways, there we go. All right. So, folks,
13-10.
That's our show for this week. We got to figure out a schedule. We're going to be back eventually on a regularly scheduled basis. We got we got to start doing our off-season big board soon, Drew. Quit blowing that stupid whistle.
Yeah, we'll get it all.
Give it back to the bird.
Look, it's all taped together because Princess destroyed it.
So are we going to start doing our off-season
big
board? All right.
I will get all that info to you later in the week. I haven't looked at my schedule. I'm doing some free stuff right now, but we will shine through. Who's that? Who's on the phone? Gums is on the. I don't want to talk to Todd Gums.
All right. Look for Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, who put this all together and made the wheel of destiny of the wheel $125 possible. Thanks everybody for joining us. Huh?
What's with Chris?
Yeah, you might win.
Chris is all fuzzy tonight.
That's a lot of money.
I don't know.
Yeah, what do you got going on, Chris?
I'm in a dream sequence or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
you remember Dreamscape? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
A lot of humidity going on in the Gates household this evening.
Must be. That'd be what it is. Minnesota.
All right. We've wasted enough of everybody's time tonight.
Great to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Talk football.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Drew. It was a lot of fun to have you on the show for once. All right. For Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, I'm Ted. Take care, everybody. Skull Vikes.
Ta, 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 ta.